Red, white, and blue political coverage now. Primary election day in September. This morning, two candidates, both hoping to get the Republican nomination, faced off. Diane Pathy reports from Brookfield.
Two candidates for Senate on the same side, going head-to-head for one spot. Businessmen Dave Westlake and Ron Johnson want to prove they deserve your vote and a BP oil spill.
There are a lot of hurdles that are already in place keeping us from being able to react and mitigate this spill. Shaking BP down for $20 billion ultimately doesn't do anything to further that end or get the oil cleaned up faster.
BP caused the worst oil spill in American history. Now, at President Obama's direction, BP set aside $20 billion for recovery on the Gulf Coast. But if Republicans were in charge, this is the guy who'd be overseeing BP.
I apologize.
He apologized to BP and called the recovery fund a tragedy.
So I apologize.
Republicans apologizing to BP? Tell Republicans, stop apologizing to big oil. The Democratic National Committee is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Now to that $20 billion account set up by BP to pay the claims of the victims of the oil spill. 4 $5 billion payments. And the man in charge is this guy, Kenneth Feinberg. He's the president's so-called pay czar. He handled the payments for the families of the victims of 9/11. Feinberg is working out of Houston right now, and our Peter Barnes from the Fox Business Network sat down with him there. Peter, what does Feinberg say he's trying to fix about this claims process?
Well, Shep, Feinberg is meeting with managers of that claims operation at BP headquarters just a few blocks from our hotel here, and he wants them to very much speed up this process. Right now, the company says it's paying claims in an average of 4 days, some of the more complicated claims in 7 days or so. He wants to cut that down to 1 or 2 days, Shep.
Well, would that create opportunities for people to commit fraud? That's one of the fears here.
That's right. He acknowledges that by paying these claims more quickly, that it could create opportunities for fraud, but he says he wants to put into place an audit system and even a system to prosecute people who file fraudulent claims. Now, you remember, he was also the man who was in charge of the $6 billion victims fund for the victims of 9/11, and there were fraud cases in that, and he says that he wants to replicate the process for stopping fraud from the 9/11 fund. Take a listen.
You'll recall with the 9/11 fund, we had 7,300 claims. Only 35 were deemed fraudulent. We had great fraud checks in place. We're going to need the same thing here in the longer run.
How confident are you right now that you're going to be able to get the help you need to bridge this period when you're not out there collecting oysters, and that your workers are going to get the help that they need to keep their families intact?
Our initial indication is that BP is responding to the company's claims for assistance. We've gotten a first, I think, emergency check. They've contacted us as recently as yesterday talking about responding more fully to our claims, so we're hopeful. As for the workers, we have a meeting scheduled on Wednesday. We will reconnoiter with them. They've all filed for BP claim numbers. I'll have a better idea by then. But we remain hopeful that they'll be true to their word, that they will respond to legitimate claims. And believe me, Chris, these are legitimate claims. And while we may be a small company, in terms of oyster companies, we're a big one, and we're down now.